Hello, I'm Michael Kurland, CEO and co-founder of Branded Group, an award-winning facility maintenance and construction management company that services multi-site commercial properties such as retail, restaurants, healthcare facilities, and educational institutions. Welcome to the Be Better podcast. Each week, I interview thought leaders from a variety of industries who will share their stories and the lessons they learn as they strive to be better for their clients, partners, employees, and their community. Are you ready to be better?
All right, guys, welcome to another edition of the Be Better podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kurland. Very excited today. We're speaking with longtime friend, longtime business partner, Kiira Belonzi. Kiira, so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. We've known each other forever. Why don't you do the audience the pleasure of introducing yourself and who you are?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Kiira Belonzi, like Mike said. I am the VP of Development and co-founder here at Branded Group. So just a little short background. My career in facilities started back in 2008 and got a job not even knowing what facilities management was. I dove in head first, kind of took every opportunity I could, right up to the one when Mike said, do you want to move to California and open a company? And I said, no, because I thought he was kidding. And then I realized that he wasn't kidding. And I said 100%, totally on board. So really, it's been an amazing ride. I couldn't be more grateful to be a part of this journey and here with him on the podcast today. And that's just kind of a little bit about me and my background. And we'll probably dive into more, I'm sure, as we go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was excited to get you on. As you said, you're the co-founder. You were the only person that had the chutzpah to take the leap with me and move to California across the country and start this crazy journey called Branded Group. So thank you for that, because over 6 years later, we're wildly successful. I think I would say beyond anywhere I ever expected to be, at least at this point. And I hope you agree with that.
Definitely.
And we've done. I think we've both done a good job of being better. You know, we had similar stories when we left New York, and I'm on pace to catch up with you on the personal life as well. Now that we're here, so super cool. You know, you just got married, had a baby, and congratulations on both of those things.
Thank you.
Yeah, life has changed a lot in the last 6 years, but I know you kind of did your introduction, but let's get a little more into that. What do you do, and why do you do it?
So what I do now is actually I manage the hiring and the training and the development at Branded Group. And I really love that part of that world of Branded Group, because I feel like it lends itself to our really strong retention rate. I think when people get in the door and they, learn early what we're about and how to do their jobs properly, they want to stick around. They want to be a part of this. So it's really ingrained in our culture to have a really good training program. Of course, with everything going on in the world this current year, as well as me having been on maternity at the beginning of the year, I haven't had a new hire class in a while. And I've kind of shifted a lot of my focus to trying to focus on some leadership development and mentoring our managers through these crazy times, because it just has been that a little bit crazy. So some of that leadership development and mentoring have really fallen on my plate. And I love that as well. I feel really strongly about everyone in our company being leaders, not bosses, and really taking that coaching role with our employees. And so I just like to focus on that. I've worn pretty much every hat in the past 6 years, but this now is what I get to focus on, and it's really where my passion lies. So that's kind of what I do, and the why I do it. I like to think I'm good at it, and so that's why I was put into that role and that position. But I guess it just, part of my personality is I like taking care of people, so to speak, right? So with being able to work with all of our employees closely and help them when they need a little boost, maybe a process, a procedure they need a little help with, that's really what I just love to do. So that's why I stick to this role.
I mean, I can attest to everything you just said, wearing every hat in the company. I mean, you've done sales, you've done operations, you did everything that needed to be done when it needed to be done over the course of the last 6 years. But I can say, when you moved into your current role, you've just flourished. And that I can say the fact that we do have a 96% retention rate at Branded Group is 99.9% on you. You bring these people in, you train them, and you and in your training, it's not even just, here's how you do job A and here's what you do A, B, C, D. It's also like, here's the culture, here's how you get involved in the culture, here's how you get involved here, and this is how you can also be successful. And so talk a little bit more about that, just your because I remember when we first met, when we were back at the old place, and you would tell me, you've always kind of thought you wanted to be a teacher, but it wasn't like in the cards for you, right? But this is where you've been able to take that role of being a teacher and that role of like putting process together and mama bearing the entire office. And then it's just been so successful, like we just said, 96% retention rate. So talk to me, like, how did you like develop this, and how's it gotten to where it is now, and why do you think it's so successful?
I think that when we started, it was just run and gun, right? That we were a startup. So it was, everyone does everything.
Those were the good old days.
The good old days. I guess we could call it that. I mean, they were fantastic, but they were crazy, right?
Yes, they were.
So some of our staff that we still have to this day, and they've risen to leadership roles now, they were some of our first coordinators, and they were thrown to the wolves. And they did an amazing job with it. But seeing them thrown to the wolves and seeing them kind of struggle and stumble over themselves while they learned was something that, like I said, it made them really strong, but it was something that I wanted to fix for the future. So I think that was really where the idea of, we need a focus on training. We need a focus on implementing everything, having strong communication when we roll out anything new. That's where this kind of training department came from. I did always want to be a teacher. I wanted to be like a kindergarten or second grade teacher. I just love kids. And it turned out that I lived in New York at the time, and you had to have your master's degree. And I know some people love school, but that wasn't for me. That wasn't my path. So I got my associate.
Totally agree. I was at one point wanted to be a general manager of a baseball team, and they were like, you need a law degree. And I bought the book to like study for the LSATs right after I graduated college. And I was like, nope, not doing this. I'm just going to find a job. Sorry, keep going.
No, I totally get it. And I think that life experience lends itself to some people better than college. So got my associates, obviously couldn't go teach, formal education without getting that further education myself. So I kind of put it on the back burner, never really thought about it again, dove in to life and started working different jobs, landed in this world. And what's really cool is now, I got good at doing, and now I get to teach. And so it's really cool for me to be able to teach what I actually really enjoy and feel like I was good at as a coordinator, as a project manager. Being able to work with them side by side is just fulfilling something that I always kind of wanted to do. It just happens to be with adults and in facilities as opposed to second graders with like addition. So,
well, thank you for not going and getting your master's and doing this, because you have become, Branded Group College is Professor Belonzi 101, all the way up to 401 or whatever goes after that. But you wanted to do that, but like, what do you think differentiates? Because I think that's one of the big things that differentiates Branded Group from our competitors is that we have you, and we have the fact that you train these people and, get them to buy in so quickly right off the bat. And, at the old place, it was burn and turn. It was like, okay, you're hired $18 an hour. Here's a day of like how to do the job from A to B. Oh, day 2, answer the phone,
right.
go from, and that's kind of like where I think we spawned. But what makes us do it better? Like, what makes drive you to do it better? And what you think makes you different in teaching that? Because this is not a fun job.
Well, I think it's a fun job. So maybe that's what's different about it. I think that you really have to have a passion for teaching if you're going to be in.
Sorry, your job is fun. I think the operational job that you're teaching can be difficult in general. Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Um, I think a big difference stems from the people that we bring on board. So when we're hiring, it really starts from ground zero. When we're hiring, we look for people, and I listen to keywords in interviews. Like, I like people pleasing. I like taking care of, I love customer service. I like problem solving. And when you get people with those innate qualities, then training the trades and the role is a little bit easier, because they already have that caring side. And you have to care about your job and your customer, if you're going to do a good job in this role. So I think it really starts there. And then from there,
so you would say you've honed in your hiring process over the last
100%. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, big time.
I mean, I remember some of the first ones that we hired and some of the first interviews we did. So I'm glad it's come a long way.
A long way. That gut feeling has really flourished.
Yes.
But then I guess beyond that, to more answer your question of what makes me good at it, I think it's really digging in and understanding people and understanding where they are and knowing not everyone's going to get trained the same. So what level are they at? Are reading their face, reading their questions? Are they absorbing this, or is there a blank stare? Are they not getting it? And training to their level, which can be tricky when you're training a few people at the same time. But if you can read the room, or you can read your employee, and you can train to their level and slow down or speed up, not only is it going to feel a little bit customized to them, so they're going to retain it better, you're also not going to blow past anything that's really important for them to know. So I guess that, I think, is probably one of the big differentiators, is just that understanding of people. And not to go really long-winded, but we do a strengths finder assessment during their very first few days of being hired. So understanding their strengths and how to build on those and play to those really helps in the teaching. People learn differently, and just understanding that.
I think that, we started that, about 2 or 3 years ago, having them take the strength finders. And, I think even for you, it was a learning experience to what to do with those strengths. Right. And now, however many years later, you've been able to really hone in that as well, to be a part of how your selection. So what I'm hearing from you is that the selection process is something that you've refined and honed in on. And now that your selection process is so good, you can really get the right people in the place to do the job. And then it makes training them easier, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then you're also, the other thing I heard is, between the three of us owners, you got John, who's very non-emotional and linear, just get it done. I'm kind of in the middle of emotion and get it done. And you're just very empathetic. So I think we balance each other out very well. And I think that empathy that you have helps to understand, the people that you are training, and getting them to, like you said, slow up if they're not moving it along as fast, or speed up if they're getting it really quickly. So I guess great. I'm glad that you figured all that stuff out, and it's definitely a benefit to both of us. So
yeah, definitely.
So let's stop talking about work a little bit, and let's talk about, what are you curious about right now, Kiira?
Curious. I haven't been bored during quarantine at all. I know a lot of people are saying, I'm bored, I'm picking up a new language, this and that. I have a 4-month-old, so definitely not bored. But I am really using this time to try to do a little personal development. And everything that's going on in the world, there's been a lot of talk about, the stock market's boo, 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 boo. It's crazy right now. And it's something that I've never been super interested in. So I've been really trying to focus on more of the real estate investing world, and learning a lot more about that. I did residential property management when I was about 18, just, assistant in an office. And I think that lended itself well to working in facilities, because there's a lot of crossover between the commercial and residential. It's different, but similarities. So I'm interested and curious just kind of about that residential world again, about, rental properties and flipping. And so I've been reading a lot of books on that. And my husband's been reading them with me, which has been a fun thing for us to do together throughout all this quarantine stuff. So I would say that's kind of what I've been focusing on. I've started listening to more podcasts. Funny that I'm on one now. There's one called The Rental Rookie, which has been fun to kind of listen to and just get other perspectives on real estate investing in general.
Now
reading books.
you and your husband have a few investment properties between the two of you, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we do.
So what have you found? What new things have you found? Because I too have a few investment properties and rentals, and I find them, if you get the right management company in place, I feel like they can be, fun and easy, but if you have the wrong, they can also be challenging. So what have you found through this pandemic, or anything new, any new advice for people with investment properties out there?
Well, I would say my biggest piece of advice is ideally don't have a tenant move out during a pandemic, because finding a new one is not the easiest. No, but I guess, we had our own homes that became rental properties. And so if you're starting off in investing, that I feel like was a really great way for us to start acquiring properties. So instead of selling a house to buy a new one, to buy your forever home or whatnot, can that starter house be an investment? And then, and still move on to a new one. And that's kind of how you get your first one and get even maybe your second one. And I read, which I found interesting, and it goes a little bit against your portfolio of investing that you have, but I had read that single family homes happen to be one of the easiest to manage. And that's currently what we have. And I had always pictured myself, getting into duplexes, quadplexes, smaller multi-tenant spaces. And so reading that, I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to change my perspective a little bit. Something maybe I want to talk to you more about at some point. But so that was interesting to me, because I thought I'll have some multi-tenant spaces, I'll do some flips. And now through all of what I've been reading, I may change my approach a little bit.
Yeah. When we first moved out here, my retirement plan was to have a flipping company, but that is just so saturated now that it's not even something I even think about anymore. But I did the complete opposite. I sold my home and I invested in multi-unit properties in different parts of the country. So I have never even seen the properties that I own, but cool. It's, it's definitely 100% 180 from what you're doing. But, I found that, like I said, if you have the right management company in place, then it can create that, I believe they call it passive income, right? Like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, passive income.
Yes.
Are you reading that? Have you read that?
I have read that a while ago, but because we did a Branded Group book club on that.
That's right. That's
when I read that.
Yeah. Did you like it?
I did. I really did.
That's like I feel like that's the starter book for anyone that wants to, get into investments and things of that nature. So
Agreed.
I don't know how this became a real estate podcast.
I know, right?
So let's see. What motivates you to be better?
Well, I guess, like I said, that whole people pleasing side of me, I really like that sense of accomplishment with, what I do every day, helping the clients, helping our team. So that motivates me on, I'd say, like a day by day basis in my current role and whatnot. Just kind of taking care of people. Love that. Taking care of my family. I really want to be better for them, be better. Now I have a little girl who's going to grow up and hopefully emulate what I'm doing and hopefully, see a successful woman that she wants to follow. Growing up.
I love that you just said that too. Let me pause you for a second. You're a very well-respected woman in our industry, and you have received awards for being, a woman in industry doing your thing. So I got to think that's some sort of a motivation for you, right? Like you to just be a strong boss woman. Yeah,
it definitely is. You see a lot about women in business and glass ceilings and not, the differentials between being a woman or a man in leadership roles. And I'm not, I think that there are hindrances and there's a lot of work to do there. But I also think that we've come a very long way. And if if you just kind of barrel through, there is something to be said for that as well. And that's the approach I've always taken, is that I'm going to create my own destiny. And I've done that, and I've followed the right opportunities to put myself in those positions. And maybe not everyone has those opportunities, but I'd like to be able to create them for more people,
Well, let's talk about what are some of the hindrances that you've run into? I mean, we don't have to get super specific,
Mm-hmm.
but what are kind of the things that you've run into along the way so that we can get an idea?
What's funny is through kind of my book, I've read books on, women in leadership and things like that. And what's funny is most hindrances for women in business are self-induced. And so people don't really want to talk about that or hear about that, but women tend to worry more about everything else around them than they do themselves, and they put themselves on the back burner. And that can be a problem when it comes to negotiating. That can be a problem when it comes to balancing family and work. And so if we become more and more aware of these things, then we can combat them. Most women are not paid the same as men. Most women don't ask for as much as a man would. They don't see themselves, women, their nature is to prove themselves and then ask for the reward or the salary increase or whatever it might be. Whereas a man will, the quote unquote, fake it till you make it. He'll speak about what he will do, whereas a woman speaks about what she has done. And so they get to these levels of salaries at different times because the man's getting paid for what he will accomplish, whereas the woman's getting paid for what she's already accomplished. So if we learn as women to speak up sooner, to have faith in our own abilities, and to kind of, push harder for what we want, we will be on the same level. And that's been really eye-opening for me, for sure.
What book is that from?
That's from Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. It's a really, really great book. And, it goes into that. It goes into, there was a Harvard study where the exact same story about a leader's behavior was told using, I may mess up the names, but it was like Harry and Harriet, right? It was a man and a female and a woman's name, and the exact same actions were taken. And then they did a survey. Would you want to be a employee of or a colleague of Harry? Would you want to be an employee or a colleague of Harriet? And there was an overwhelming positive response for the man and a very negative response for the woman, because the woman came off as, bossy and pushy and not someone that people would want to work with. Literally the exact word for word behaviors as the man, which was looked at as a respected traits. So, it goes into all kinds of crazy different information.
So it's like there's still, there is still inequality in the workforce.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm not trying to make you some women's equality champion here, but how can we be better, in our generation coming up to try and combat that? I think we do a good job at Branded Group, but
we do.
Yeah. But in general, with the workforce, what do you think we can do to be better?
I think that awareness is huge. That's really one of the biggest things. And that comes with any sort of inequality, which we're, seeing so much civil unrest right now. The awareness behind it is huge, because if people are aware, then they can't ignore it. We have done a great job at Branded Group. We have a lot of women in managerial roles, and they do a phenomenal job. I don't really have an easy answer. I think if there was an answer, it wouldn't be happening anymore. But education, maybe educating, having classes in colleges about, more women-focused classes in colleges. So that way younger women are getting this, empowerment ingrained in them from an earlier age. There's little things like that could potentially start to propel.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. I think awareness. Not that I've done a lot of research on the topic, but the few facts that you just presented to me, I I had no idea, right?
Yeah, it's interesting,
as
right?
long as it's talked about a little bit more, I think we can help that problem to be resolved, or moving forward.
Right.
So, how are you being better professionally?
Definitely taking this time. So this time, like I mentioned, is a little crazy. A lot of what my focus was on was our team, and our team is just running and gunning with the current work that they have, but we don't even have our whole team with us right now, unfortunately. So my role's changed significantly, and I'm really spending that time, listening to webinars, revamping some processes and procedures, trying to revamp things like, our review processes, and seeing how, as a company, we could be better with little things. Our company is really great about doing a survey, an employee survey every year, and we take a lot of information from that, and it's overwhelmingly positive, which is really, humbling. But it also always shines a little bit of light on opportunities for us to grow as a company. So kind of looking at some of those things. A big one is communication. How can we streamline some of our communication as you grow and you get bigger and you get different departments and different teams? How do we make sure all of our messaging is consistent? So just kind of looking at some of that stuff.
I definitely agree with that. As we've grown bigger, I mean, I'm sure you could comment on this, but I'd appreciate if you didn't. But my communication, just the streamlining of it, when we first started, we had 2, 5, 12, 20 employees, and I would just, I'm just going to go direct to that employee. And now when we were at 85 and I'm still going direct to the employee, and then you stop doing that. You're messing up the flow of communication. Sorry. So I think I've done a good job, though, in the last year of backing off the direct communication and following the proper channels. But anyway, keep going with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
I would definitely agree. Yeah. When you're small, it's easy. You can say something out loud and everyone hears it and everyone knows what's up. Or the grapevine is really short. But as we get bigger, it's like, okay, if we change something, or we are going to do something differently, and we tell the person that needs to know it, great, they get it and they're gonna run with it. But does everyone else know it, and are they all going to behave the same way? Is that message going to be consistent? So I think that we do a good job with our meetings. We don't do the over meeting problem, but I think that we have enough meetings with the right people to relay the right information. And then I'll sometimes have side meetings and say, okay, this is the information we need to relay, but this is how I want to see it discussed with your team and with your people. So where one person might say it one way, another. If it's really important, let's talk about how you're going to execute that message.
Cool. Yeah, totally agree. Communication is key. Even in just relationships, right? Like work is a relationship. All the people that you deal with at work is a relationship. With your spouse, your partner, also communication is key, but just even with your friends, like if I may be feeling some sort of way, and if I'm not communicating that to my buddy or my fiance, they may not know I'm feeling that way. And I have this great saying that I am not Kreskin. I am not a mind reader. So if you're feeling some sort of way and you don't communicate it to me, how do I know, right? You can't get mad at me.
Well, that reminds me of when we came out here, and we've always had the Be Better motto, right? And we've got all that, but you and I had a motto with each other, which was say it out loud.
Right.
And we haven't talked about that in a while, but I remember thinking back, looking back at that, it was so effective because you're starting a company, things are crazy. And if you don't actually say it out loud and you don't express what you're feeling or what you need or what your expectations might be, then there's miscommunication, hard feelings, rough days. And I think that that was just such a good kind of like thing to live by, was say it out loud.
Yeah, I agree. I actually thought about that the other day too. So say it out loud. Maybe we should bring that one back.
Right.
We might not want to hear it though.
That's true.
So I really appreciate you coming on, Kiira. This has been great. I have the same question that I ask all of my guests for the last question. So are you ready?
Okay. I think so.
Okay. What do you consider yourself to be an expert at, and what piece of advice would you give to our listeners on how to become an expert at that thing as well?
Gosh. An expert at. I'm going to go back to the reading people, the understanding people. I think I'm very good at that. And it's benefited me in lots of ways because it helps me approach situations differently and whatnot. So I would say I am really good at that. I think the way to do that, and this, you're going to laugh at this one, but it's to listen, right? Like I talk a lot, but my New Year's resolution every year is listen more. But if you listen and you really hear what people are saying or why they're behaving the way they are or whatnot, and you put yourself in their shoes and you try to understand them, then you can approach things in a way that people walk away happy, and you get what you need and what they need, and you find those happy grounds and happy mediums. And I would say that would be kind of something that I pride myself in.
Listening. Reading people and listening more. That's good. That's
working
good
on
advice.
The listening. Yeah, working on the listening.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, great, Kiira. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been great catching up with you. Love to have you back and talk about the good old days a lot more. I don't know if our audience wants to hear that, but me and you can at least chop it up.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So if people out there that are listening want to get a hold of you, what's the way they can do that?
Email is great. It's Kiira.Belonzi telling you the wrong email address. Goodness. It's kbelonzi at branded-group.com. But I'm on LinkedIn, so you can definitely get me on LinkedIn. And my email is there as well. And I'd love to hear from anyone with questions, thoughts, things that we want to elaborate more on. Love conversation. So
great. Well, thank you, Kiira, and thank you everyone for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope that today's episode inspired you to become a purpose-driven leader in your career or your community. There is no doubt that when we lead with purpose, we can change lives. If you enjoyed today's show, I'd be grateful if you would take a moment to rate us on your preferred listening platform. To learn more about Branded Group's Be Better experience and how we provide industry-leading, on-demand facility maintenance, construction management, and special project implementation, visit us at www.branded-group.com. Be sure to follow us on social media, and you can also reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Until next time, be better.